Morning, YouTube. What's going on? Um, I'm just getting to this particular topic of discussion because I'm on daddy duty. So my son is currently sleeping. So I'm trying to get this done just in case he just wakes up and interrupts this video. That's why I'm looking over my shoulder because he's behind me right now. But usually I try to catch live streams, uh, especially one of the people who I follow is Ricky Manor, and another person who is interesting because he lays it on thick, unapologetically, and his name is Mario Jaye. You know, and sometimes like when you start like if you click onto one of his videos or whatever, whether he's doing it live or not, and you begin to hear how he starts coming across. Sometimes before you finish hearing what he's saying, you automatically want to get triggered and get all in your emotions. But then if you listen long enough, you start to understand and hear his point. And it's like he said, it's that tough love. It's most people don't have skin thick enough to deal with that tough love. They rather just hear things that make them feel good. And sometimes that constructive criticism that 9 times out of 10 is meant to better you, not leave you stagnant in life. Most people ain't up to hearing that. Their maturity level isn't up to par. You know, but last night I was able to catch one of his lives, and he was talking about this guy who is, I don't know if he's a life coach or a dating advice expert or whatever he is, but he goes by the name of Kevin Samuels. And the controversy that has been or that surrounded that was his way of pretty much how he addressed this woman, this black woman, in regards to her worth towards a person, a black male who, is in the six-figure category or whatever, somewhere along those lines. And one of the things that Mario J pointed out was that, people aren't always going to be worthy of other people, because people are set in their ways and they have standards. The ultimate takeaway from his streaming was be with who makes you happy. Don't don't put yourself in a position to, how should I say this, go for unrealistic goals. Because 9 times out of 10, you're looking for particulars, and sometimes those particulars don't apply to the heart. You know. Now, this is where I come in. Okay. Um, and I know before I say what I'm about to say, I'm fully well aware of the fact that being that I'm speaking on this particular subject matter, there will be, if there are women, when I post this, who are the black community, are going to want to, do some research on me, see who I'm involved with, and then use that as their strategy, as their go to tactic to want to attack me and tell me I have no right to speak on what I'm speaking on. I already know because, like Mario J pointed out, you could be talking logically about something and they'll throw some ignorant BS in there just to deflect because they're all up in their feelings. So they respond with emotion. Okay. Growing up, I've dated all sorts of women. Well, I can't really say all sorts of women, but growing up where I grew up, and I stated this before, most of my life was spent in Hartford, Connecticut. All I've ever dated, you know, for the good portion of my life was black or Puerto Rican, you know. Um, but sometimes dating for me wasn't easy. Um, and I'll say this due to this particular fact. And I always keep coming back to the whole demographics because it does play a huge part in certain people's experiences. It does. You can argue against it all you want, but until you step outside your little bubble or whatever, there'll be a greater understanding of what I'm saying. But I'll use this example, in reference to me to make the point that I'm trying to make. I grew up in Hartford, the capital of Connecticut City, and I gravitated more towards and only two black women and Puerto Rican women. Because that was my attraction. That's all I knew. I never gave white women a second look, you know. And I've said this before. I grew up in a black household. I was adopted. I'm biracial. I'm half black. I'm half white. My mom's white. My dad's black. Okay. Um, those were my biological parents. Um, but it wasn't until I got older and due to the fact that my folks had moved, um, they moved out of the city and into this secluded town, predominantly white. Um, you had to have money to live in that environment, and of course, all that was there basically was maybe a handful of black folks, a sprinkle of Hispanics, and the rest predominantly white. Okay. Now, as you may know, when you are different from what people are used to, your what makes you different is what attracts other people. As they say, opposites attract, right? So my sister had moved, with my folks ahead of me. I stayed back in Connecticut, in Hartford. I didn't move to Colchester right away. It took like maybe 2 or 3 years before I ended up moving to Colchester. And when I got out there, the first thing my sister said was, "Ooh, them white girls are going to gravitate towards you." I was like, whatever. Because I was into like Puerto Ricans and black girls, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And that's how I ended up meeting my daughter's mom, um, this little Italian girl, you know. And of course, it didn't work out because, like, how some people, and I'll say through my experience, there is some validation when it comes to people when you date outside of your race. There are some prejudices and racial, things ingrained in them that'll come to light when you spend enough time with them that surfaces. And in dealing with her, oh, that girl just, ooh, she threw that N bomb on me, boom, 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 boom. So I said, okay, fine. And after her, I met my son's mother, who was Jewish, and she never called me out my name, disrespected me or whatever. Um, unfortunately, she passed away, but I'll talk about that on a different subject. Um, and it was some time, I'll say, I guess in a 16 to 19-year span from me dating white women to me going back to dating black and Hispanic women. And that more so happened because I moved out to Houston. Now, to get to the point that I'm about to get to, when people talk about who they hook up with and their worth, and how all these females are criticizing Kevin for addressing the sister in the manner that he did, they tend to forget the things that they have said to put black men down. And black men really don't cry about it, but these are one of them situations that you done open up the topic of conversation for the conversation to be had. Okay? So, with that being said, I really never heard black men complain about how black women treated them. Sometimes it got brought up in conversations, but it's one of them things that they brushed off or whatever. And it only mostly came up when you heard of a sister that had a problem with a black man dating outside their race. And most black men say, you know what? Well, um, I've tried dating black women, and this is what I got from it. I was put down. I was told I wasn't shit. This, that, and everything else. And I was, and I, and I can attest to that to some degree because I had my fair share of I wasn't black enough. Um, why was I more appropriate in my mannerisms and stuff like that, and or or some females felt intimidated by me. But then there was also sisters that was attracted to me, and there were some fine, fine black women, fine, thick, perfectly shaped. But even when I wasn't getting involved with women, black women specifically, I kind of like stayed to myself, and I was like in observation mode. And what I noticed was this, and I'm speaking specifically in reference to what I saw when I lived in Houston. I noticed there were a lot of successful black women. Okay, independent, had their own stuff, whatever. And this is where I'm doing the praising now. Okay, because there's a lot of stereotypes placed on black women that labels them as ghetto, hood rats, this, that, and everything else. And they don't have any manners and they're an embarrassment, this and that. And I'm not saying that there aren't those types that exist because I know there to be. Basically knowing where I grew up. So there is validation there. However, there's also validation in the fact that there are successful black women that do right by themselves, have made a name for themselves, and pretty much had the attitude of I don't need a man, but if I want one, I can have one. But the men who they pick ain't worthy of them. And this is what I saw. These types of women who did very well for themselves chose to pick men who, in my opinion, I felt that they can control. They were their pet projects. One of them, fix the Negro types. You know, these males that were broken from the hood, this, that, and everything else. These women chose them specifically to try to pick them up and fix them, doing a disservice to themselves. Now, and these men would turn around and take advantage of these women, take their cars and meet these little hussies and stuff, and drive around and be with their homeboys getting messed up or whatever. Meanwhile, this woman who worked hard to have a nice establishment, a home, nice vehicles and stuff, and the hood dude that they chose to pick to fix was taking them for granted. And I always would like have these conversations with them, like, why would you pick these people who don't give a damn about you? Why don't you pick a man who is of your same, who is on your same level? I didn't understand it then as I do now, is that you can't have two alphas in the same house under the same roof. Because if a woman who was so stuck on being independent and being above the male, they don't want no one on the equal level. And it's messed up. And I say it's messed up because they feel that it can't work, but that's a damn lie, because I got the example of my parents who helped build each other up. Yeah, my mom was smart as hell. My dad was hands on. He was smart in his own right, but he knew how not to ask other people for help because he learned on his own how to do things for himself, from doing electrician, plumbing, putting siding on the house, roofing, painting. You know, all of that he learned from becoming a landlord. And he was a tool and die maker by trade. He didn't want for nothing. He knew how to do stuff. My mom, the genius of the family, smart as all hell. You know, when my dad went back to finish his college to get his bachelor's degree, because he had an associate's degree and his job paid for it, working at Pratt and Whitney and stuff, she helped him with his college. My mom was smart. She worked for the IRS, took flights out to DC. When her time was done dealing with being an IRS agent, she went and got her realtor's license and worked for Century 21. So, you know, you can't tell me that it's not possible. But I understand that we are living in different times. People's mindset are different. But the thing that I don't get, and this is the point that I'm trying to get to, a lot of these women took offense to how this man was addressing this woman who decided to come on to his show. It was her choice. So, you know, let's get that. And it pretty much, when you get involved with somebody, like, if it, like, first of all, if I'm looking at all these YouTube uh, personalities or whatever, and I know what they are about based on how they come across and how they convey themselves and stuff, I know if I say, okay, I'm gonna make the choice to go onto this person's live stream or their chat or their show or whatever, I know what I'm getting myself into because I already know what their personality is like. I know what to expect. So either I, one, prepare myself to deal with what may come my way from their end, or refuse to participate altogether. You know? But in this case, this woman didn't go toe to toe with Kevin. Um, he was giving constructive criticism. And what I don't understand is that women got offended on her behalf because of his criticism towards her in whatever manner, to say that she really didn't qualify to get the type of man that she was looking for because she was just average. And the man that she was seeking to find wasn't looking for no average person. And women got offended on his behalf, on her behalf. Why, I don't understand, because there is nothing to be said when they go out of their way to offend men, put men down. I've seen that happen. And unfortunately, it doesn't even start with them getting involved in relationships. Sometimes them women are putting men down who are their sons, telling them that they ain't shit, their daddy wasn't shit. Fuck you, little and this. F you, little and that. Come over here, mistreating the little boy. And then the boy grows up with an attitude towards women because of how their mom treated them. Now I'm not saying this. It applies to every single situation, but it's an example of a situation that I've also witnessed. So there's validation, and people choose to dismiss things that they can't relate to, and they'll want to argue against you and say, "Well, I didn't see that, or it didn't happen to me, or it didn't apply to me." Okay, but again, where did you grow up? What state did you were you residing in? Did you grow up in the town? Did you grow up in the city? Did you have a two or a single family household, parent household? I mean, there are factors that people overlook to just want to respond without looking at everything that's presented before them. And sometimes I hate having these conversations because sometimes I could say something and a person disagrees with me and they'll have a rebuttal to say to me, and in their rebuttal or their response, I would agree with them because what they said in response to me, oh yeah, I've heard about that as well. I know about that. I know exactly what you're talking about. I had that conversation with somebody else. Somebody else pointed out what you just told me. But it doesn't take away what I know to not be true just because it doesn't apply to you. Hold on. Hey, 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 how's it going? You having a nightmare? Are you having a nightmare? But yeah. Um, you get restless. But yeah. But that's what I'm gonna touch upon, and I'm gonna end it right here because he's getting restless, and he's probably gonna have to get another feeding and stuff. But yeah. Please respond, share your thoughts. Let me know what you think based on what I've shared. And until next time, until next video.